8 teams still competing for a national championship this week in Salem, Virginia, for the Seagulls of Salisbury, the Big Blue of Millikin. Their journey begins right now. It's already our 3rd game of the day, a quadruple header as always to start day 1. We'll have another quartet of games tomorrow as well. Lincoln Rose, Sydney Gearbrack, great to have you with us. As Sydney, the number 2 seed this week, Salisbury, back in the national championship hunt. They're a 3-time national runner-up, facing those Big Blue talented individuals from Millikin, as Millikin making their debut here this championship week.
We've already seen 2 great games so far today, Lincoln, and expecting another great 2 games. Hopefully we can get both of them in. For those of you who are joining us, seeing the beautiful backdrop of Salem, Virginia.
By virtue of being the number 2 seed, Salisbury is your home team, so that means we see Lindsey Windsor in the circle. We'll also see her swinging a bat soon enough. Windsor, the first team All-American, her conference's pitcher of the year. Salisbury is already just the 2nd team out of their own conference we've seen today, as CNU, already victorious today, has improved to 45-1 on the year. Salisbury this year 41-6, both members of the Coast to Coast Conference in its 2nd year of existence. There's only 5 members in that conference. 2 of them are still playing for a national championship. Leading off for Millikin, KJ Davison. Davison, the newcomer of the year and first team all-conference standout in the CCIW. The Indiana native, again, in the College Conference of Illinois and Wisconsin. Millikin out of Decatur, Illinois. Ball shot to the right side, and Davison will lead things off with a base hit. Well, we've seen some newcomers already make their presence felt, including from Barry in that last game, knocking off last year's national runner-up in TLU.
Well, and Barry came out with a bang, put 3 runs up on the board, 6 hits in that first inning. That really carried them through, made sure it got some runs behind Hall.
Chismark squares around a bunt, can't keep it in play.
And comparably to that first game that we called, Lincoln, where we saw some aggressive offense right out of the gate, seeing that here with the Big Blue, similar to the way Barry started their game on the visitor side.
Laney Chismark, freshman out of Joliet, Illinois. Ambitious freshman who has decided to be a biology major. This year hitting .284 coming into this final weekend. Hit her first career home run earlier this year, has 18 runs batted in. Right now her teammate KJ Davison led off this ball game with a single, still standing on first for now. As they face Lindsey Windsor in the circle. And they'll throw behind the runner. Can't get the tag there, however. Ball beat her to the bag. But back in time is Davison. So again, your pitcher, Lindsey Windsor, mentioned first team All-American, the junior, your 2-time conference pitch of the year. Had a no-hitter back in March against Lynchburg. A .83 ERA on the year, 18 wins, just 1 loss, 101 strikeouts through 134 innings. As they'll opt to field that ball and make the tag. And what you just saw there, fortunate for Chismark, did not start to backtrack until after the tag was applied. Had she done so before that, the runner would have to return back to first. And let's see if the umpires come together to talk about this. I do think the tag was applied before the batter began retreating. And it is the one area where you cannot go backwards. If you are a batter, you can freeze or you can advance.
Lays down a beautiful bunt, does a good job.
Oh, yeah. No, that's an automatic out, and the runner is going to have to go back to first. Our umpire's talking it over. Did you see it differently?
No, I think that's a good prediction of the call that we're going to get, and a bummer because that was a really well-executed bunt. Some good softball there being played.
Yeah, our umpires come together. Boy, it is so instinctive that if somebody tries to tag you, you try to move out of the way, but it is a quirk in the rules.
A quirk indeed, Lincoln.
that you cannot move back towards home. And as a result, automatic out, Chismark. Davison back on first. Boy, otherwise a great bunt. And here's Leah Foreman now. You know, if you're a defensive player, you should almost intentionally whiff on your tag there and see if you can get them to move backwards.
And I understand the rule, right? We're trying to, if you were any other 60 feet on the field, that would allow the runner to continue to advance. Doesn't make sense because there's nowhere for them to go if they're backtracking, so.
And I'll apologize, I didn't notice if that was catcher's interference or what the official call was, but Foreman awarded first base, Davison on second now. Here's Grace Biondo.
Salisbury getting a break and then backtracking with another runner.
Biondo shows bunt, defense commits, and Biondo has just given the Big Blue a lead. Grace Biondo brings KJ Davison home, and Millikin strikes first. What a debut here in Salem.
I'm seeing Millikin early execute some great softball. Ball up the middle. Runners in scoring position. Not much else to say there, but well done to the Big Blue.
So Grace Biondo, second team all-conference this year, the senior, has her 29th RBI. And so ultimately, Davison having to retreat back to first does not cost Millikin. She does come home to score. Leah Foreman's now your runner on third, Biondo on first. And here's Cameron Scunberg.
And a great response there by Millikin, not getting discouraged by what could have severed their momentum.
Scunberg led the conference, the CCIW, in hitting this year with a .448 average, as the base easily taken by Biondo, and that eliminates a traditional double play. So
appreciating Salisbury baiting that first and third. Seeing if the runner on third will take off.
Scunberg at the plate, mentioned .448 average, 22 RBI, 4 home runs this year. It's already your fifth batter here in the first inning for the Big Blue of Millikin. So far today, we've seen the #1 seed and the #5 seed prevail. As tomorrow, CNU will face our winners from a moment ago, and let's see if time's been called by Salisbury.
Quick confab in the circle.
Salisbury these days, Lacey Lord, your head coach. Marge Knight, the NFCA Hall of Famer, who was at the helm of this program for over 800 victories in her 24 years. A 10-time region head coach of the year. Heck, she was former great volleyball coach as well at Salisbury back in her playing days at Salisbury. Played those two sports as well as basketball. Well, back when she guided Salisbury here in 2003, had a player by the name of Lacey Lister, a 4-time All-American pitcher. Lacey Lister these days goes by the name Lacey Lord, as Lacey in her second year as head coach back at her alma mater after returning from Washington College, where she was for a dozen years. And that ball's too shallow. The throw over to third, aggressive play. As Biondo is back, or pardon me, Foreman is back. Well, the great thing is Lacey Lord was able to convince Margie Knight to stay on the staff. Technically an assistant on this staff.
What I love too is that there's still part of the recruiting classes that Coach Knight brought onto this Salisbury squad. So there's still very much that legacy that Knight, I would say left, but she never left. So it's exciting to see it continue.
First time I ever got to call a Division III softball championship was 2014 in Tyler, Texas. The Seagulls were there. They would come back the next year when it was here in Salem in 2015. This is the 5th time they've played for a championship in Salem. It's their 10th overall softball championship appearance. Right now trailing, though, against Millikin, who Was able to strike when Grace Biondo brought KJ Davison home. Lindsey Windsor trying to keep it just 1 run with 2 outs recorded here in the first inning. As Cassie Reed fights that one off. Reed, first team all-conference senior, really brings a lot of energy to this team according to her coach, hitting .321 on the year, .325, pardon me, 22 RBI. I said head coach, I'll explain the clarification in a moment. We have 8 teams, but we have 9 head coaches. The Big Blue brought 2. This will hang up there, squeezed in by Stockman. Millikin will strand a couple, but they do plate the first run here in Salem in our 3rd game of the day. It's the Big Blue, your 7th seed, up early on your 2-seeded Seagulls, who come to the plate next.
Gunberg at shortstop, Lex Tennyson. Getting the start at second base for the Big Blue is Riley Blake. At first base,
fans making their way from Maryland to cheer on the Seagulls. And one of 2 members of the Coast to Coast Conference to qualify for the championship this week here at Meyers Sports Complex. 2nd straight year we're crowning a national champion in D3 here. I'm sure well over 100 now D3 and D2 programs have been crowned national champion in the city of Salem. As Lacey Lord hoping that her women can strike back for the first time in the bottom of the 1st. They'll be facing Allie Armstrong in the circle for Millikin. Allie on the year. This is her 24th start. A 2.03 ERA, 16 wins, 5 losses, 130 strikeouts through 131 innings. And the first batter she'll face is Abby Mace for the Seagulls. By the way, a first-team All-American. Abby hitting .441 this year. Luckily for Salisbury, they swept their way through Mount St. Joseph in the Super Regional. By not having to play a 3rd game, Abby was able to sprint over to her graduation on the weekend. Not just All-American, but COSIDA Academic All-American and 2-time Player of the Year in their conference. Right now an even count facing the pitcher Allie Armstrong.
Mace had a impressive play in the 1st inning, called off her infielders, tried to make an aggressive out at 3rd. So already seeing her contribute with where she's been involved thus far. Obviously a major contributor on this side of the ball.
Delaware native, this one will get out of play, foul. Again, double elimination tournament. 8 teams still very much alive. 2 games complete today. Our first 2 games tomorrow will both be elimination games. And then our 2 games in the evening will be in the winner's bracket. And usually, best thing you could possibly do is just keep winning, though we are seeing some pitching staffs on these teams that make you believe they might be credible threats coming out of the elimination bracket if needed. Otherwise, it's a tall task to lean on your arms that much.
We're seeing teams do a good job of mixing who they bring in the circle, making some of those adjustments early, offensively, trying to keep some of these really talented All-American pitchers that we've seen so far this weekend on their toes.
Abby Mace goes down on strikes, so Allie Armstrong able to fan the first batter she faces here in Salem.
Two great players for these programs going head-to-head, and just a beautiful off-speed pitch there.
That'll bring up the opposing pitcher, Lindsey Windsor. Mentioned she's a first-team All-American pitcher, tries to get a bunt down, but she'll be retired by Armstrong. Just cost her 1 pitch to a win.
Batting 3rd for the Seagulls, shortstop, number 5, Natalie Paoli.
As Lindsey can reshift her attention back to the circle next half inning. Natalie Paoli, the shortstop, comes up with 2 outs, nobody on. Third-team All-American out of Wilmington, Delaware. Sat back on the off speed. It's in there for a strike. Paoli had a big game-winning home run earlier this year against the defending national champs, Virginia Wesleyan, for one of her 5 home runs this season. She's your Conference Scholar Athlete of the Year in the Coast to Coast. Salisbury last year won their conference tournament by beating CNU. CNU's gotten the better of the exchange with Salisbury this year, winning all 4 meetings, although all 4 of those were here in Virginia. Technically, I guess that'd still be true if they collide here this week. But we have several teams that, because of some early season as well as some conference games, have already seen what their opponents have to offer. That's where some of these newcomers may have an advantage. Teams haven't seen them. Already saw Barry pull off what I think some would say would be at least a minor upset against a recent national champion TLU in our last game.
Well, we really saw how important momentum is in terms of controlling the game, not only offensively, but what that can do for your defense, especially what that can do for you in the circle. Seeing Armstrong currently capitalize on a 1-run cushion.
A 5-pitch walk with 2 outs, Paoli on. His way to the DP, Megan Reed in the cleanup spot. Boy, Reed's really stepped up this postseason, hitting well when it matters the most, now hitting .377 on the year. Let's see if she can come through. Tying run over there on first with 2 outs. We're your cleanup hitter for Salisbury. When you talk about this athletics department for the Seagulls, women's lacrosse and baseball are both your defending national champions in D3. The department now has won 22 national titles for team sports, another 24 individual national titles. Salisbury baseball is back in the Super Regionals this year. A 2-0 count to Reed. Moments ago, the walk to Paoli. The senior pitcher Armstrong in the circle. 3-0.
And what we saw in the first 2 games, we were seeing a lot of misses in the dirt. Not what we're seeing from Armstrong right now. Missing up in the zone. It'll be interesting to see what Salisbury does later in this game with more arm circles that Armstrong throws.
That's back-to-back 2-out walks now to your 3 and 4 hitters. Salisbury in their 24th NCAA tournament. I mentioned it's the 10th time they've made it here to the final week. Doing so most recently back in 2015, a 3-time national runner-up for Millikin. Just their 6th NCAA tournament. They were here last year in the national tournament. That was the first time in the NCAA dance since 1994. Last year was the first time they got to host as a visit. All right, so here's what I put a pin in. I mentioned a quote from head coach, but I didn't clarify. That was from Whitney Sowers. They have co-head coaches. Whitney Sowers has now, for the past 5 years, been a co-head coach. Previously, 3 years on the staff of Katie Tenboer. Both of them co-head coaches now and part of your CCIW Staff of the Year. They happen to also both play at Division III powerhouse Central College under one of the all-time greats in George Wares, who is still #1 in D3 victories, including a 2013 appearance here at the championship. Back-to-back 2-out walks for Salisbury hitters brings up Lauren Meyers. Meyers from Bel Air, Maryland, second team all-conference this year. Her coach, Lacey Lords, thinks she probably should have been all-region as well. Hitting .375 with 5 home runs and 34 RBI. Your first baseman for the Seagulls.
And even with 2 outs on the board, it's going to be important for Salisbury to capitalize here. They've played great defense throughout their postseason, but they've really struggled in the past couple of weeks offensively. And their pitching and defense has carried them thus far, and they're going to need to produce offensively in order to stay in this tournament.
Was she able to hold up? She was. 2-1.
Had some big home runs in game 1 and saw a bit more production with singles and doubles in game 2. Salisbury really needing to produce offensively by choosing good pitches and hitting gap to gap.
This is playable for your catcher, Foreman. She's got it. There's your 3rd out. So the first 2 batters were retired, but then a couple of 2-out walks made things interesting for the Seagulls. When it's all said and done, Allie Armstrong and the Big Blues shut them down. And a 1-run lead intact moving on to the 2nd.
Inning in the books here in game number 3, our score.
Always great to be back in Salem, Virginia. That means it is championship season. 8 teams in pursuit of a title over the next 6 days. Now, we will be sending 2 home tomorrow as we start to trim the field. All 8 teams in action on this opening day. This is already our 3rd game of the day. Gretchen Gold leads things off. Bottom 3rd of the order comes up for the first time for Millikin. Millikin again located in Decatur, Illinois. Salisbury in Salisbury, Maryland. As teams from the Coast to Coast Conference and the CCIW collide. Gold, junior, hitting .337 this year with 16 RBI, facing Lindsey Windsor for the first time.
And Gold has done a great job performing in both corner spots for the Big Blue. 1st and 3rd, coming in today's game at first base. But a valuable player, being able to play multiple spots in the infield.
Focus this week for Millikin, just no major changes. Show up like you have all day this season, or every day this season. Big cut from Gold.
Gold doing a good job staying on time. Whenever we see a ball hit straight back, as a pitching staff, we know that there is some good timing there on the batter. Might have just missed. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw it off speed. Something low in the dirt, maybe on the inside corner.
Well, too hot to handle at first. It'll be likely an infield single. We'll see how they score it for Gretchen Gold. We'll see what kind of a mood our official scorer is in. What's most important is the leadoff hitter is on for Millikin.
And a hard hit ball, just an unfortunate bounce off of the glove. But good enough for a single.
Gives way to Lex Tennyson. Lex, senior out of Bloomington, Illinois, hitting .293 with 31 runs batted in so far this year. Looking for more. And they are going to pinch run by bringing on Sarah Lahner, sophomore. I said Lahner, Sarah Lahner, sophomore. That's a fair ball, and that is a well-executed bunt by Tennyson. The sacrifice moves Lahner into scoring position.
So far, the teams that we've seen sacrifice or get down their sack bunts, execute the small details, have been the ones that have come out on top thus far today. Millikin doing a great job so far and currently on the board. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Catcher Stockman scooping that ball up. Didn't want to wait to see if it would go foul and possibly allow 2 Big Blue runners on. Here's your 9-hitter, Riley Blake. The Iowa native in her sophomore campaign. She's hitting .193 this year with 13 RBI. Started 44 of the 45 games she's appeared in. She'll put a bunt down. And so back-to-back bunts have moved Lehner 120 feet over to the third, but now 2 away.
And a great play there by Lednam. Scoops it up, fires it over. If she takes any more time, that is a different outcome.
Back to the top of the order. KJ Davison has singled and scored already today. She is your difference maker on the scoreboard right now. Facing Windsor now for a second straight inning, with 2 outs already, boasting a 1-run lead. Gretchen Gold led off this inning with a single. Lehner has run in her stead now, with advancing a couple of bases on back-to-back sacrifice bunts executed by the Big Blue. That time called by Davison. Again, Davison, a freshman for this Big Blue team that's making its first championship appearance. And she'll be awarded first.
Center fielder, number 12.
So runners on the corners for Lainey Chismark. A chance for some insurance, including just 60 feet away. A couple of freshmen here at the top of the order for the Big Blue. Boy, Millikin this weekend, when you follow the Super Regionals, we mentioned all but one team got here by sweeping the first 2 games. Millikin did sweep the first 2 games, but it wasn't easy. They were caught up in multiple rain delays that extended a ball game. They were 1 out away from run ruling. Wartburg, after the delay was over, Wartburg able to plate several runs to extend it to an extra inning. That would lead to another delay, but ultimately the wait was worth it, as Millikin able to punch its ticket, sweeping Wartburg 9-5 and 10-6, the score of those games. They've had a lot of high-scoring affairs here in the NCAA tournament after runs were harder to come by in the CCIW when they ultimately fell to North Central. All about getting hot at the right time.
But some of these players, you're seeing a lot of these mainstays in the lineup having played 40, 41, 42, 44 games sometimes. And they're hitting well above 400. I think we talked about how KJ Davidson coming into this game hitting 432. That's not uncommon when you're getting to this stage.
They are not going to concede second, and it's going to cost them a run. Millikin able to bait Salisbury into the throw, and they have found insurance along the way. The pinch runner, Lehner, comes home to score, and on top of it all, KJ Davison finds herself in scoring position.
And again, Lincoln, we talked about how important nailing those details is going to be. KJ Davidson doing a great job of being the distraction in that first and third play. Salisbury had a similar opportunity but was not able to execute quite in the same way just an inning ago.
So you talk about 2 bunts successfully executed on their first try, and you can credit both those bunts for helping bring the runner home.
And we've got a lot of ball game left, and right now Millikin has done a great job of executing with runners in scoring position and executing with runners in scoring position with 2 outs.
Into foul territory and just beyond the reach of Katita. Chismark 0 for 1 today. See KJ Davison retreating back to second. Two misses. No, pardon me. Caught looking. There's your third out, but not before. Lehner comes home to score and gives Millikin some insurance. As we move on to the home half of the second, the 2 seed, Seagulls, trail by a pair.
Second inning for Millikin, the number 7 position in the Millikin order, and returning to first base defensively, number 8, Gretchen Gould. Gould is back at first for the Big Blue.
Back at Moyer Sports Complex here on the championship field. Lincoln Rose along with Sydney Gearbracht. And Sydney, I'm being told that we have already qualified for the championship. So if that takes any burden off our shoulders, helps us enjoy the week.
Great news.
These student athletes have been battling adversity all season long. Incredible stories for all 8 teams that have made it here. And you hope all 8 can appreciate what they've accomplished this year, regardless of how it plays out. With that said, there is a trophy on the line.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for the contributions and the tremendous growth each of these programs has experienced over the course of the season. And of course, like you shared, there is a trophy at the end of it. Only one gets to come out on top.
Madison Lednam will send one, a screamer right up the middle for a base hit. We asked these coaches, who's been overlooked, and Madison's been in that category. Her power numbers aren't where they have been traditionally for her in recent years, but boy, she's still been a big part of this lineup, comes through when it matters the most, and her defense, her glove, has been great as well.
And even if you're not putting up the numbers necessarily that you want, it's about being able to execute in these big moments like you just shared, Lincoln, and Lednam's able to do that. And again, she's getting hot at the right moments. Getting hot in this tournament is where you want everybody to be. Lednam coming out and starting off this inning strong.
And Sydney, that breaks up the 1-inning no-hitter that Allie Armstrong had going. So Lednam is on with a single. Here's Carly Galbraith, who steps up to the plate for the first time. She's able to get the bunt down. Only plays at first. Well done. Seagulls have been paying attention. It's all so much more successful when you can get it down your first try.
The catcher, number 20, Emily Stockman.
As Lednam now in scoring position. Ellen Stockman comes to the plate.
Well, there's taking care of details on both sides of the ball, right? So Millikin needs to make sure they filled that cleanly, get the out where they can. Salisbury doing their job, laying down the bunt. And we've seen it on both sides for both teams, so some good softball being played here today. Some by the book.
No, I said Ellen Stockman. This is Emily Stockman, 20, not 22. They are twins. A couple of freshmen from Brunswick, Maryland. I was caught off guard when I said Ellen, but I had copied down a lineup that initially had 22. I suspect someone else made the common mistake. As advancing over to third is Lednam.
That'll be the 5th stolen base that Lednam has had thus far this season. 4 for 4 coming into today's game.
Yeah, it's always best to wait until the championship. You don't want people to be able to scout you as a dangerous runner. Of course, we have the all-time greatest base stealer in the tournament this week for a 3rd straight year. Kelly Jordan for TLU. I think she's sitting on 241 after stealing 3 bases in the defeat earlier today against Barry. The 1-2. Stockman with the cut, down on strikes, 2 away.
Good at bat from Stockman. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make the adjustment. Cut the ball in half, send it back up the middle.
Number 8, Francesca Catita.
Francesca Catita, the 9-hitter, your left fielder for Salisbury, comes up now. Final batter in the lineup for Allie Armstrong to face before it turns over. Catita from Massapequa, New York. She attended her graduation, which was earlier in the day last Saturday. Was a little late showing up to the Super Regional. Eventually she'll be moving on to law school. Clearly that means she wants to be a sports broadcaster. Allie Armstrong with 2 outs. Runner over there on third. Still a 2-run lead at the moment. Trying to keep it that way. 1 strike away.
Seeing Armstrong get a lot of swings and misses thus far. Also seeing Salisbury do a good job of starting to get on top of Armstrong's. Wouldn't be surprised the next time through the lineup. We're going to start seeing Salisbury start to put the ball in play significantly more than they have thus far.
Leadnam, the runner on third, led off with a single. A sac bunt and a stolen base have moved her along. A 2-2 count to Francesca Catita, trying to keep this inning going for Abby Mace in the top of the order on deck. Millikin has scored in each of the first 2 innings. 2-2, fought foul. We'll keep the count right where it is. Only 2 teams who have yet to take the diamond today are 2 teams we saw both at the championship back in 2019. That's Eastern Connecticut State, the Warriors, as well as Trine, the Thunder. And a cut, back-to-back strikeouts. Allie Armstrong, after giving up a leadoff single, able to retire the next 3 hitters. As Millikin able to maintain a 2-run lead, a chance to build on that in the third. Two innings in the books. Both our starting pitchers going strong. Lindsey Windsor here in the top of the third. She has conceded 2 runs on 2 hits so far. Millikin able to execute some small ball. Able to find insurance last inning. A couple of well-executed bunts. That brings us to Leah Foreman for a second time today. Leah was stranded on third back when the first inning came to a conclusion.
Millikin doing a good job of not trying to do too much.
Leadnam at third, across the diamond, 1-1.
Not overswinging, making sure they're choosing good pitches. So far, we've seen that small ball pay off for them, and 1 run an inning. It's good production, especially against a team like Salisbury, like I shared earlier in an earlier inning. Is having trouble coming up with and executing offensively.
Last time we saw Grace Biondo, an RBI single that put Millikin on the board for the first time, scoring KJ Davison in the first inning. So 1 for 1 today. She is a math major. Right now, just looking for some simple addition. And she takes the strike, 1-1. And the coaching staff of Millikin just says the key to this week, just stay together, be consistent, not getting too high or too low, and having a lot of fun executing what they've basically tried to be all season long.
It can be easy to come to the big dance and feel like you need to bring something different, maybe even bring something more, do more than you've done all season long. And all of these teams have been successful by playing their version, their brand of softball. And staying true to that makes a huge difference, especially in the moments when your back is up against the wall.
I mentioned in an earlier game, I believe it was the second one, that sometimes we'll see teams come here for the first time, quick exit, and then they do come back the next year and they admit that they were just happy to be here the first year. But as I mentioned to you in that first broadcast, all of these, quote, new teams have indicated they're not going to be just happy to be here.
Absolutely.
They are focused on a business trip this week. And we've seen that, including from Barry in the most recent game with a victory over a recent powerhouse in TLU, and we're seeing it here from Millikin and their first ever trip against a perennial visitor in Salisbury.
I think when teams have that mindset of, we're just happy to be here, they don't really give themselves a fighting chance against the teams that believe that they belong here. It's kind of the difference between playing to win versus playing not to lose. And hopefully each of these teams is playing to win.
First pitch that Skundberg sees, a rocket out off the top of the wall. They will send a runner home trying to score from first, but the tag applied as Biondo is out. So a double from Skundberg, but Salisbury will happily make that exchange.
Speaking of playing to win, beautiful ball. Hard hit. Thought it might have gone over the fence, actually, but just shy. And may have been a little bit of hesitation there by the runner. Looks like Salisbury is able to minimize the damage of that.
Cassie Reed, first pitch swinging, foul. Winner of this game will play the winner of tonight's last game between Eastern Connecticut State and Trine. The loser will actually suit up earlier tomorrow in the second game, which will be our final elimination game of tomorrow. As our first two games tomorrow, elimination contest, followed by a couple of winners bracket contests. Skundberg, the runner on second. After a successful throw home, got the runner Biondo.
And really liking the pause that Cassie Reed insists upon, calling time, taking control of her at bat.
0-2 to Reed, got her. As score remains 2-0. It's the first shutout half inning. Lindsey Windsor hoping to get some run support from her teammates, including her own bat, when you rejoin us. Back here on field number one at Meyers Sports Complex. Great to have you with us. Lincoln Rose, Sydney Gearbrecht, former Houston Cougar. As a national champion will be crowned this week. KJ Davison's already scored once today. Back out there in center field defending what is now a 2-run lead. Millikin kept off the board in the top of the third as Salisbury just trailing by a pair. As back to the top of the order, Abby Mace will be followed by your pitcher, Lindsey Windsor, and Natalie Paoli this inning. Second time through the order for Allie Armstrong, working with a lead for Millikin. Again, Mace, first team All-American, player of the year in the conference in the coast to coast. Last year, Salisbury lost in what was the Marshall Regional. They'd love to get back to Marshall next year. That is next year's host for the National Championship Week over there on the campus of ETBU in Texas. And of course, I mentioned we take for granted when Salisbury's here, but for these players, it's their first time, as it's the first visit for the Seagulls since 2015. It is new to them. For their head coach, it's new to her with this program. Though she played here for the Seagulls. Lacey Lord. A 3-1 count right now to Mace. I'll give you some Coach Lord info here in a moment. All right, this will buy us a window, perhaps. Her number 14 retired at Salisbury. We mentioned a 4-time All-American pitcher with 105 wins, 4 strikeouts shy of 1,100 in her career. Those rank both in the top 4 in Division III for careers. She's the only female with a number retired at Salisbury. And this one on a rope. Deficit cut in half. A blast from Abby Mace. The All-American with her 17th home run on the year as she'll touch them all.
And Abby Mace We talked about in the first inning contributing already defensively and just waiting for that moment she would contribute offensively in this game. Able to take that ball all the way out. Great pitch choice. Knows what she's looking for. Making adjustments bat to bat.
What a bat to have at the top of your order. That's going to bring a smile to the next batter's face because she's your starting pitcher, Lindsey Windsor. She comes up as the tying run. Now, she's an All-American first team, but that's more so because of what she can do with her arm, the junior. But this year, Windsor hitting a modest .449 with 8 home runs this season. Both speed and power on the offensive side. She popped up a bunt attempt, her only other appearance so far today. Out of Union Bridge, Maryland.
Well, and talk about an athlete you have in Windsor, contributing not only in the circle, being able to lay down a bunt, 8 home runs on the year, hitting that ball right up the middle.
Chismark will be the first one to it, knocks it down for a single. Back-to-back base hits for Salisbury's top of the order.
And that's what I was going to say is Windsor supporting her team at the top of the order. You don't see that often from a pitcher, and a tribute to, or a nod to, Windsor's athleticism.
So she's aboard for Natalie Paoli. Natalie walked back in the first inning, was one of 2 runners left on base. Salisbury has stranded 3 so far today. Abby Mace led off this inning with the most decisive home run we've seen so far in our 3 games. Paoli can't get that bunt down. 0-1 count. Paoli, 3rd-team All-American junior. And she has some home run pop as well with 5 of them this year. And 39 RBI. 1 runner on after Lindsey Windsor's single with nobody out. Tying run on the base paths. Off-speed pitch in there for a strike.
You never know when or which inning is going to be the inning, and Salisbury has an opportunity here with no outs on the board, a runner on, having generated some momentum from a solo shot. This could be the moment where they start to really shake Armstrong.
Well, late on the swing, pushes to the right side, and Blake stays focused on the task of getting the out. Runner Windsor does advance into scoring position. 1 away. Might be a win for both sides. Millikin gets an out. Salisbury has the tying run, 120 feet away. For your cleanup hitter, Megan Reed.
As a player, it's so important to have productive at-bats, whether you are seeing a lot of pitches or you're able to move your runner. Of course, best case scenario, you're able to produce offensively, and if not, a productive at-bat can do a lot for your teammates and for the momentum of the game.
So this was the first inning that Millikin did not plate a run, scoring 1 in each of the first 2 innings. Salisbury has been able to strike for the first time. Solo blast from Mace. Tying run on second after Lindsey Windsor's single, advancing on a ground out from Paoli. Megan Reed with a chance to make this a brand new ball game. Salisbury did not win the automatic bid from their conference because there's that other team that's here, CNU. CNU, 45 wins, just 1 loss all season. Otherwise, we'd be fawning over Salisbury in a 41-6 mark. So, mindful, 2 teams from the same conference are your top 2 seeds this week. There's only 5 teams in that whole conference. That's an impressive second year for the Coast to Coast Conference. Runner on second, Lindsey Windsor hoping to tie this ball game up, the 3-1 offering. In there, so count goes full to Megan Reed.
Kind of to that point, Lincoln, There's that saying that success is a habit. And for many of these programs, winning has been the habit they've gotten into all year long. And we'll have to see if some of the habits that they've picked up along the way over the course of the season will take them to a championship.
Count full. Again, Lindsey Windsor, 1 for 2 today with a single this inning. Advanced on a ground out. He's hoping Megan Reed can bring her a little closer to home. Warren Meyers on deck. 1-1. And Allie Armstrong, your senior in the circle. And that ball defying gravity, just floating up there for a while. That's a tempting ball to look at, but tough to get a quality piece of. We've been in the high 60s temperature-wise. For those who are curious, we're going to peak around 70 degrees. Payoff pitch. Spot foul. It'll slowly warm up throughout the week. I think there's going to be a little less sunscreen consumed this year than in years past. Umbrellas might be just as popular as this time of year, as often dictated. Still one out, payoff pitch to Reed. Out of play.
And Reed, as a sophomore, is one of the leaders in this, like what I would call a leadership bench on this Salisbury team. They're going to have representation from each class, and the ability to have that collaboration amongst classes, making sure that the team is heard, that the team feels like they're being advocated for when decisions are being made on behalf of the team. She stepped into that role nicely on behalf of her sophomore class.
See if Reed can come through here. Tying run on second. Reed is going to shoot this one back towards right, and playing it just right was Davison. Thought that ball might get over her head, but she had it measured properly. If that ball gets past her, Windsor probably scores. Instead, simply 2 outs. Runner cannot advance.
Well, it looks like Windsor gets caught admiring that ball by her teammate. It's probably a ball that you need to tag and go. Make sure you capitalize on that extra 60 feet. Again, those productive at-bats. We don't get to capitalize on Reed hitting that ball well and to the opposite side of the field to give Windsor an opportunity to have the extra time to get to third.
See if Lauren Meyers can extend this inning. 5th batter to come up here in the 3rd for Salisbury. And your runner on second right now, Lindsey Windsor. They weren't sure if they were going to have her available at the start of this year. Same could be said about Madison Lednam. Both have been battling injuries from last year and throughout the offseason. Were able to come back pretty close to 100%. The other big question mark in the offseason after you graduate all-region catcher Kaylee Edwards was who would step in, and of course the freshman Emily Stockman has taken over along with a senior and Duplessis. But right now, 5th batter this inning is Lauren Meyers. After a home run and single to begin the 3rd frame, a ground out and fly out for 2 outs. Armstrong trying to record one more to maintain a 1-run lead through 3 innings. And it's a 2-out walk to Meyers.
Third base, number 17, Madison Lednam.
So only third base unoccupied. Runner on second there was Lindsey Windsor, your pitcher, hoping to come home. Runner on first, Meyers after her walk. And here's the other player we mentioned battling back from an injury last year, Madison Lednam. She is 1 for 1 today with a single and a stolen base, and is going to have to wait for her first offering with 2 outs as there's a visit to the circle for Millikin.
We got 2 outs on the board, and with Lednam at the plate. This is who you want if you're Salisbury, especially with these 2 outs, right? So you have some maturity there with the junior, number 17, and then you have some speed on the bases, right? Some athleticism in Windsor. Hopefully they can capitalize again in this 2 outs, runners in scoring position situation that we've seen a couple innings again and again. And I have a feeling this is going to be the situation that for these 2 teams is going to determine who walks away with the win.
I love that both these teams are led by head coaches who have experienced this as student athletes.
Mm-hmm.
First pitch to Leadnam with 2 on, but 2 out. Again, this inning began with Abby Mace destroying a ball.
Yep.
Home run to left. This is after we had seen several home runs today, but they all just kind of gently got maybe a foot beyond the wall.
Mm-hmm. And Leadnam's really going to need to be disciplined in this at-bat. Had a hard hit for her first at-bat of the game. Probably not going to get anything straightforward until Armstrong absolutely has to give her something near the plate. Even then, there's an extra base. Just depends on the Millikin game plan.
The 2-0. And there for a strike.
So when we talk about the pitch that you're looking for as a batter, that actually might have been it. You're looking to hit, or looking for something on the outside, something that you can hit hard. Maybe that's not something that Leadnam is used to seeing or feels like she can hit well, and that may be the best pitch she gets.
And that one gets down to strike level. 2-2.
And this is where that discipline's going to come in. Can't let anything go by. We've seen a lot of strikeouts looking today, which you hope you'll see less and less as the weekend goes on.
Left side, that's a fair ball. Dive for the bag, not in time. Oh, you feel for Skundberg there at the hot corner. Finally secured it. Went diving for third, but clearly the runner able to get there in time.
And oof, Windsor giving me some heart palpitations there at third. I really needed her to slide there. Not only for the out, but also pitchers sometimes can be injury prone if they become field players or if they're running for themselves. So luckily that worked out for Windsor.
So bases loaded with 2 outs.
And again, quality at bat for Leadnam, passing the bat to another one of her teammates.
Carly Galbraith now with the bat in her hand. So 2 outs. This could go a lot of ways. Millikin could be hanging on to a narrow advantage, or Salisbury, already having their best inning so far, could all of a sudden find themselves ahead going into the 4th. And Galbraith, the freshman, stepped in this year at second base for injured teammate Maddie Lemon. Wound up being second team all-conference, the freshman. (2-1), foul out of play. So Lindsey Windsor, after her single, stands on third right now. Lauren Meyers walked, she's on second. Leadnam has joined them on the base paths as they are loaded for the first time today for either team. For Carly Galbraith. All of this after Abby Mace got things started with a home run to lead off the 3rd inning.
Well, and 2 outs on the board. We've seen Armstrong already get out of some sticky situations, so it'll be interesting to see what she's going to be throwing in these next couple pitches.
2-2 from Armstrong, looking for that final out, gets the final strike. Salisbury finds a run, but then strands 3 on the base paths. It's the Big Blue still in the driver's seat here in Salem, heading to the 4th. Three innings in the books here in Salem, as addressing some areas of concern. No indication of foul play. It's top half of the 4th. Millikin looking to reestablish at least an insurance run after Salisbury was able to strike. The home run cutting the deficit in half from Abby Mace. The bases were left loaded by the Seagulls.
We talk so often about playing one pitch at a time, winning the inning, and if you're looking at the scoreboard, Millikin's having won the first 2 innings. Salisbury able to win that third one by putting 1 up on the board, and
Gretchen Gold punches this one foul. Lemon gave it a chase.
And now we're seeing 2. Salisbury now has 4 hits on the board and has not been able to produce in those really important situations with multiple outs, maybe a little bit of more wiggle room in that last inning, but with runners in scoring position. So Windsor really needing to support herself here and shutting down Millikin quickly so that they don't gain any more momentum, because we're in that part of the game where momentum starts to pick up for either side who can continue to execute.
Mentioned that was Lemon out there in right field. Started this year as second baseman before her injury. By the time she came back, she wound up filling the void in right for another injured teammate in Jillian Dawson. Helps to have athletes who can play a variety of positions. Galbraith at second. Over to Meyers, no sweat. 1-1.
Hard hit ball, just right into a defender's glove. Routine play.
Again, teams from Illinois and Maryland colliding in this one. It's Lex Tennyson at the plate, able to execute a sacrifice bunt in the second inning that ultimately would lead to a run before the inning was over. Right now, that's your difference maker on the scoreboard when the pinch runner Lehner came home.
And Tennyson's going to be one of those seniors that has played every single game thus far this year for Millikin. Important to have some of that veteran leadership that may not necessarily have some of the higher numbers on your squad, but certainly has the composure and the leadership in other parts of the game.
Yeah, your pitcher Allie Armstrong and teammate Cassie Reed have been among the trio leading the way for Millikin. The 1-1.
Yeah, that's not to say Tennyson hasn't had a great season. Coming into this game, 293, 31 hits, about 8 stolen bases. So she's certainly able to produce.
Millikin 2 runs on 3 hits. Salisbury actually now out hitting them, but left bases loaded last half inning after the Mace home run. Tennyson out of Bloomington, Illinois. I believe that's where Illinois Wesleyan is, but I'm happy to be corrected. We've seen the Titans in recent years here in the D3 championship.
Now, comparably to Armstrong, Windsor really hasn't thrown a whole lot of balls thus far. Really done a good job of getting the swing and miss, the foul ball. So some long strikes here. And that's really where Millikin has gotten a chance to keep her off balance. But overall, having a strong performance thus far and certainly pitching well enough to win this ball game. I'd say Armstrong is probably getting a little bit more shook at this point than Windsor.
The number 8 hitter at the plate with 1 out, nobody on. Windsor seeing the lineup for a second time. What a diving snag by Lednam for out number 2.
Lednam having a day so far. Ball not hit very hard and has to make that adjustment, decides to dive at the last minute. Gets that second out for her team, often that elusive second out we've seen today.
Doesn't even crack a smile. Just another day at the job. Here's Riley Blake, your 9-hole hitter. Again, the committee, once the 8 teams qualify, reseeds them. So it's not always the same regions beating up on each other. Millikin deemed to be the 7 seed, Salisbury conversely the 2 seed. We've already seen the 5 beat the 4 today. We saw the top seed hold up against the 8 seed, though you could have seen it go either way. WPI was the 8 seed, taking on CNU, same conference as Salisbury. Coast to coast, CNU is. After the first day, seeding frankly doesn't matter. Skip over to the glove of Meyers. That is a 3-up, 3-down defensive effort for Salisbury. They stranded bases loaded last inning. Can they bring home the tying run when you rejoin us on NCAA.com? Allie Armstrong saw Salisbury score its first run of the game last inning. She then saw them load the bases after the home run. That would leave them loaded. And Salisbury hoping to find that elusive tying run under their head coach and former Seagull in her own right, Lacey Lord, class of 06, now in her second year back at her alma mater, taking the reins from the legend, the Hall of Famer Margie Knight. Made a name for herself in her own right, did Coach Lord, in a 12-year head coaching stint at Washington College. But for her, no place like home. She was on the Salisbury team that made that run from 2002 to 2005, 4 straight championship appearances. And this is another rocket, this time from Stockman. The freshman will touch them all with a game-tying home run here in Salem. Back-to-back innings, the Seagulls strike with leadoff home runs. This time it's Emily Stockman.
An absolute shot for Stockman, who comes into today only with 2 home runs on the season.
Yeah, in her career.
Yep. And what a time to come up with the big play, with the big hit. And if this is the way that Salisbury has to put runs on the board, if they have to rely on the big hit, so be it.
Well, you always lean on your 8-hitter, your freshman, for that big home run.
It just goes to show you that anyone can get it done at any time.
Francesca Catita now facing Armstrong out of the 9-hole. Count 1-1. The lights have slowly come on here in Virginia. We'll be under the mercy of those lights pretty soon, as the sun beginning to retire on this opening day, the first of 6 straight days here in Salem for the top softball programs in Division III. Great look. Ball fought foul. Now, I've had my eyes on one particular light post because there is a giant hawk with a nest residing up in it. Not sure if hawks root for seagulls or if there's a rivalry there.
So, now the one thing that has changed in recent years is the pitchers needing to have both feet on the rubber when they start. And that's been a couple years where that's been a rule now. You don't necessarily have to have both feet on the rubber. And so I'm interested to see how some of these pitchers, some of these young pitchers, continue to work on how hard they're throwing and how much movement they can get with that extra bit of momentum not having to start from what essentially feels like standing up for those of us who had to have both feet on the rubber.
I was on a production call earlier this year, and we had access to a lead official, and they mentioned something we never thought about. Sometimes umpires go out there to clean the rubber, really just to see if there's any dirt on it from actually dragging a feet, or if a pitcher is hopping. It informs them later on whether or not there's illegal pitches.
Interesting.
Have not seen that as a factor so far. We are going to see a pitching change as the Big Blue scored 2 in the first 2 innings. They've conceded 2 in the most recent 2 innings. A couple of solo shots. That'll end the start for Allie Armstrong. We'll step aside. We'll introduce you to the new right arm on display for the Big Blue. It's a brand new ball game. 2 runs apiece in the bottom of the 4th. Millikin goes from one first-team all-conference pitcher to another. This one, by the way, happens to be the pitcher of the year in the CCIW, Addie Sargent. She comes on for the junior. It's her 24th appearance. It's only her 4th in relief this year. A 1.17 ERA for a woman who's 17-2 this season, helping guide her Big Blue. And we're seeing more of this from a lot of these programs who really have multiple very good choices in the circle. You almost can't go wrong with whomever you tab as your starter.
Well, Armstrong and Sargent, well over 100 innings for them both throughout this season, and they've worked diligently to get to where they are. And what's cool is that they've continued to see sustained success and are each other's biggest supporters, according to their coaches.
And our umpires have access to replay of coaches challenged in the first 6 innings. After the first 6 innings, the umpires themselves can ask for a review. The coaches can continue to ask for a review as long as they haven't used their 2 challenges. We saw that last game, not once but twice. And so far, umpires are 1 for 2. They welcome being correct. So whether it's in the moment or thanks to the review, they just want to get the call right.
A lot of the sayings, especially in softball, are control what you can control, right? Lean into the controllables. And obviously the umpires are something that we can't control as players. And you don't ever want to leave things up to chance as much as possible, which is why when it comes to the pitches that you're choosing, the plays that you're making, you want to lean into the controllables and control what you can control as much as possible. So when those other elements come into the game, you know that you've done everything you can to give yourself the best chance to win.
We've got some great softball players who are here batting in the mid-400s. I would suggest these umpires have a much higher batting average in their average call out there.
Absolutely.
And we've got some of the best here in the final stage.
We sure do.
2 balls, 2 strikes with 1 away. Salisbury, both their runs have come via the home run, including this inning from Emily Stockman. Top of the order, this is Abby Mace, who was your other leadoff hitter to homer. She did in the 3rd, and she'll trot down to first.
The pitcher, number 10, Lindsey Windsor.
And Lindsey Windsor, again, your starting pitcher for Salisbury, comes back up for the 3rd time now. She singled last inning. She can give herself a lead here, perhaps. One for 2 today, Windsor. Again, in addition to being the 2-time conference pitcher of the year, she finds time to hit .449 on the season coming into this week. Second time we've seen her bunt, she has not been able to get one down. She popped out to her counterpart back in the 1st inning. Did come through with a single in the 3rd when she swung away.
I'm seeing Salisbury having a bit of a harder time executing small ball. Millikin winning in that category thus far today.
The 0-2. Again, Addie Sargent, who's come on in relief. Pitcher of the year in the CCIW. Windsor sits back on it. Slow roller to short. Throws off her back foot. Not in time. And Lindsey Windsor enthused.
Sometimes you just got to dig it out. Windsor able to get down the line.
Infield single.
Not the most beautiful batted ball we've seen this weekend, but a hit's a hit.
It was a tough ball for Tennyson over there at short.
Well, and Tennyson has been one of those players that's been described as a stabilizer and a competitor. Knows what the team needs to keep moving forward, so they really rely on her to be the thermostat, or one of the thermostats on this team.
They will swipe third, and if not, oh, well, it's going to be a moot point. I was going to say, if not for the umpire, that ball's in left field, but it caroms so far away that Salisbury takes the lead. Abby Mace able to come home.
Talk about Salisbury being able to capitalize on some free passes.
How many times do we see that ball hit an umpire and just die?
Yep.
But instead, it's still shot away from the nearest defender. Back to live play. Addie Sargent wasn't interested in us watching it again. So Salisbury, who trailed 2-0, now leads by a run. This ball foul out of play. And it's all because of the aggressive base running of Mace. She steals third, and with an errant throw, it drills the umpire. You thought it would have gone into left and thought it may have cost her a chance to score. Instead, no. She immediately recognized that ball was going to carom over towards shortstop and allow her to score.
That might be in the book as an error, so that means Salisbury getting their runs off of an error and 2 lines out of the park.
And again, Lindsey Windsor, how about the heads-up base runner by your starting pitcher, who now knows the next time she's in the circle has a lead that she'll work with. And I love it when a fired-up head coach tries to get an umpire fired up as well. And I think it's Lacey Lord still teasing the umpire, who, again, took a line drive throw off the body. Everybody in good spirits. I think coach probably says, better you than me. She's probably had a few line drives hit her way. Third game of the day. We already know that tomorrow's first game will be an elimination contest, perhaps surprising to many. Last year's runner-up, Texas Lutheran, with their earliest loss ever in a championship, here for a 3rd straight year. They will face WPI, and I think that's anybody's ball game based on what we saw. And then we will see Barry in our first winner's bracket contest against CNU. Sandwiched in between will be another elimination game featuring one of these two teams.
I believe right now we're watching the 2 seed and the 7 seed.
Yep.
And it feels like this is a matchup in between what we would see the 4 and the 5. I know we shared that the TLU performance was a bit shocking just based on the prowess of that team, what we've seen from them.
Megan Reed, and a catch made by Biondo. And they're going to sit, no, not able to hang on. She kept it at least from possibly clearing that outfield wall. May have hit off the wall, and instead Salisbury.
That ball hit well. But there needs to be just a quick glance to see where that fence is, maybe a handout if you can swing it.
And with 2 outs, runner Windsor was coming home regardless. The only difference is now you still have a runner in scoring position. So Megan Reed on second here for Lauren Meyers. When I bought my seats, it did say obstructed view, so but clearly on that replay, a drop ball. Off speed, off the mark. Seventh batter this inning, Lauren Meyers. Remember, this inning began for a second straight inning with a leadoff hitter hitting a home run for Salisbury. Unlike last inning when they stranded the bases loaded. There's a drop third strike. There's your third out. But the Seagulls have captured their first lead in Salem here in 2022. We are through 4. Moving on. Millikin looks to respond in the top of the 5th. Head coach of CNU scouting out some possible opponents, but of course those are conference rivals these days. CNU as well as Salisbury. You know, the Coast to Coast Athletic Conference would love to see them collide for that best of 3 game series at the end of the week. They're your top 2 seeds, let alone 2 teams from the same conference here, occupying 2 of the final 8 spots. Lincoln Rose, along with former Houston Cougar Sydney Gearbrack. As we've been looking forward to this final week, top teams in Division III. Salisbury has battled back from a 2-run deficit, now a 2-run lead. Let's see how the Big Blue can respond. Back to the top of the order for Millikin with KJ Davison. Scored the first run of the ball game, did KJ, back in that opening inning.
In the past 2 games, we've seen a really even matchup. So with TLU and Barry, those are 4 and 5 teams. And I know we're looking at the 2nd and 7th seed here with Millikin and Salisbury. And yet these teams have come to play, have given a pretty consistent performance, really comparable performance for both sides.
At the end of today, you and I will record a quick recap for NCAA.com, and you know who's going to benefit the most from that recap is it's going to be us tomorrow.
Absolutely.
We have seen a lot of softball. If you ever hear me pause to tell you who is playing whom, again, a lot of great stories, and we're just trying to keep them all straight.
I'm going to honor these athletes and their contributions and the stories that have made up their season so far.
So a 3 spot in the bottom of the 4th puts Salisbury ahead for the first time, and Lindsey Windsor very much a part of that. For the first time today, pitching with a lead. An 0-2 count to Davison.
Well, and Windsor doing a really good job being consistent on both sides of the ball, contributing as much as she can.
Ooh, scary moment right back to Windsor. And ultimately an infield single for Davison. And they're going to give Windsor some time just to make sure she's okay. Didn't look like this ball got to her too bad of a spot.
A bit of a comebacker to Windsor. And hard off the gloves, there's not able to be a play made by her or her catcher.
KJ Davison has reached now all 3 times.
Yep.
And scored once. She'll try to double that. Here's Lainey Chismark, 0 for 2 today. Slight mist coming down.
So the added weather element that we've seen so far, that we anticipate seeing, is going to change a little bit for the pitchers. Going to probably be using a little more of the chalk they've got in the circle. Outfield is going to need to take a different approach to the angles. Make sure that they are driving the ball down, maybe hold on to the ball a little bit longer with their throws to make sure the throws are low as opposed to lobbing it, which can be easy to do if the ball's wet. So a couple adjustments need to be made by both teams here.
Of course, the weather's been off in the horizon. I promised you we'd have a view of mountains throughout this week, but we haven't seen any just because right now there is enough of a fog that's been hanging around. But those mountains are there, I promise.
To the Blue Ridge Mountains?
Big Blue.
Big Blue.
At least for this ball game. We tried to keep the mountains impartial, but could not hold back when Millikin came to town. Blue Ridge Mountains near the Shenandoah Valley and the Commonwealth of Virginia. 3-1 count to Laney Chismark. That one fouling out of play. Mentioned Chismark, an ambitious freshman who's a biology major. Payoff pitch coming up from Windsor. Working with a 2-run lead. After Salisbury had stranded bases loaded in the third, finally got a crooked number up there the next inning. And every now and then we remind you she is a first-team All-American pitcher. The problem is we have a lot of those, it seems like, this week.
Yes, we do. Except Windsor
Runner going, nobody there to accept the throw, and it's a moot point. It's ball 4.
I was going to say, except Windsor has the audacity to be hitting almost 450 on the season.
Yes.
We love to see it. We love when an athlete gets to participate on both sides of the ball, if that's what they choose, and they're good enough to do so.
So just like that, the Big Blue has a tying run on. As Leah Foreman comes up, 2 have reached, a single and a walk. No ball has left the infield yet. In fact, it was on this day, 2014, that the Seagulls were playing in the National Championship Series against Tufts. Seagulls had taken the first game the day prior. Then they battled Tufts in the second game. Scoreless 13 innings until finally that 14th inning, Tufts was able to score a handful. Tufts would win that game and then the next one as well. Millikin able to advance both runners during story time. As Davison over to third, Chismark at second. They appreciate the efforts of Foreman.
Yeah, good use of that first out.
Mentioned that year was in Tyler, Texas. By the way, congratulations to UT Tyler. They hosted 3 times this past decade, even after they began transitioning to D2. And this year, UT Tyler is in the Division II championship over there in Denver. We saw UT Tyler win on this field in 2016. And right now, Seagulls hanging on to a 2-run lead. It is right now being threatened by the Big Blue, who have led much of this ball game. Right now have 2 runners in scoring position. By the way, if you're a pitcher, that's a pretty good woman to ask questions of. Again, 4-time All-American, the former Lacey Lister, who's number 14, is retired at Salisbury. Mentioned all-time in D3, 4th all-time in wins, 105 in her career, 3rd all-time in strikeouts, 1,096. And this is her first-team All-American disciple. Facing Grace Biondo, who has an RBI single and a walk today. It is Biondo who is out at home back in the 3rd inning. That would be the first inning that Millikin would fail to score. Biondo pokes one over to Meyers, a little nonchalant, reaches down, secures it. That's going to score a run. Grace Biondo brings home KJ Davison for a 2nd time today. Davison scores, and that deficit is now down to 1. So an RBI ground out for Grace Biondo.
And a good choice there by Biondo as well, making sure that she's choosing something on the outside corner, something she can hit away to give her teammate a chance to cross that arguably most important 60 feet safely.
There's Cameron Skunberg once again. And first team all-conference after leading the conference in batting average. I think we're just numb to 448 batting averages. You don't have to be a math major like Skunberg to know that's good. Millikin 3 runs on 4 hits. They've been efficient. They've got another runner 60 feet away from tying this ball game up with Chismark. But with 2 outs, up the middle, and it's a brand new ball game. Skunberg will score Chismark, and we are level at 4. A 2-out RBI base hit from Cameron Skunberg.
And again, not trying to do too much, this Millikin offense. Choosing good pitches, hitting on the opposite side of the field to make sure their runners are protected, have enough room to get across that last 60 feet. And Millikin, again, diligently chipping away at that deficit to even it up.
This inning began with the top of the order for Millikin. First 2 batters reached, they both scored. Your number 5 hitter comes through with the game-tying RBI, Cameron Skunberg, and now here's Cassie Reed in the 6th spot.
Cassie Reed, described by her coaches as a big piece of Millikin energy, a connector within the dugout and on the field with her team, so somebody that brings the team together.
Jada Wilson will be your pinch runner for Skunberg. You don't want references to a pinch runner to include the phrase glue, but in this case it's good. Jada Wilson, the glue of the dugout, helps keep that team together when she's not out there on the field.
And the Millikin coaches have noted that they don't have captains because they want leadership opportunities to grow organically from everyone on that squad.
Conversely, everybody at Carson Newman is a captain. Christopher Newport, pardon me. Seeing you. But no, yeah, they mentioned when we asked who are your captains, everybody expected to step up and lead in their own way. So Wilson, your pinch runner for Skunberg after her RBI single. Cassie Reed 0 for 2 today, has been the 3rd out twice, trying to avoid that trifecta. As both Davison and Chismark have scored this inning to tie it up. Meyers holding on, the only runner right now, the pinch runner Wilson. Just need to find that 3rd and final out. As Salisbury has the benefit of being the home team. Up the middle, snagged by Windsor. Oh, scoots out of the way, but leaves the leather there. Look what I found. And fires it over, but not before Millikin answers Salisbury's 3 runs with 2 of their own. We're level at 4 heading into the home half of the 5th.
United as one to learn more. Again, that's NCAA.org/United as one.
Well, the last time that the Big Blue were out there on the diamond, they were watching Salisbury take a lead with a 3-run bottom half of the 4th. They respond with 2 in the top of the 5th, their first runs since the 2nd inning. As we head into the home half of the 5th inning, Salisbury trying to inch back ahead. Again, Addie Sargent, your conference pitcher of the year in the circle. In relief for Millikin, one of their 2 first-team all-conference pitchers in the CCIW at their disposal. Madison Lednam at the plate. Singled and stole a base back in the 2nd. She'd be left stranded on 3rd. Both teams doing a little better job bringing those runners home.
There's some really quality softball being played by these two teams today.
Sargent able to get her to chase. A 3-pitch strikeout.
There was that extra off speed there. And it's nice to see the mix that Sargent is throwing. Got Lednam with that off speed, and we've seen a lot of really good mixes from the pitching staffs today.
One foul out of play.
And I've seen, as the games have gone on, I would really say a big difference between game 1 and games 2 and 3. Game 1, we really did not see the pitchers approach the inside part of the plate against lefties and righties. Really saw them work the outside corner, work off speed. These last 4 teams have not been afraid to go inside. I think that's made a big difference in the lower scoring of some of these teams.
Home half of the 5th inning. 1-1 count from Sargent to Galbraith. Galbraith a sac bunt and a strikeout today, 0 for 1. Millikin winners of their regular season in the CCIW. They would not get the automatic bid out of the conference, falling to North Central. But they would get the at-large bid, knock off Ohio Northern, along with Illinois College and Alma. And then, of course, in the Super Regional meet, Wartburg College in that best 2 out of 3 series that they would sweep. We mentioned how that second game, multiple lengthy delays, that would ultimately prolong the quest to punch their first ticket, but ultimately able to do so. And join us here in Salem. Payoff pitch with one away to Galbraith. Back up the middle, base hit. A nice at bat for Galbraith here in the 5th inning, and she gets to run the bases for the first time.
Catcher, number 20.
She was one of the 2 batters in the lineup who had yet to be able to reach. And it comes through here in the 5th.
Well, that's what's so great about a game like softball, right? We have all of these amazing stats in front of us that will give us an idea of who's due. And Galbraith was due. Coming into today's game, hitting .307. This is her 3rd at bat. She was due for a single.
Taylor Scott comes on to run, the freshman out of Delaware.
In place of Galbraith, 27, Taylor Scott. Scott pitch running at first for Salisbury.
Scott doesn't get to swing a bat, but we'll note she is batting 1,000, though limited sample size. Emily Stockman comes to the plate. Last time we saw her, last inning, led off with a solo shot. It was the 2nd straight inning Salisbury got a home run from their first batter, after Abby Mace led off the 3rd. See what Stockman can do for an encore. 1 for 2 today. Go-ahead run is on base with the pinch runner Scott, after Galbraith was able to reach. .02 off the mark. It's a Salisbury team that challenged themselves early in non-conference play at the NFCA Leadoff Classic, playing some of the best teams in all of the country to help get things started. That included 2 teams they could see this week. Stockman, sky high, comes down into the circle into the glove of Sargent, 2 away. But they played Eastern Connecticut State and Berry in that tournament. Berry is not in their immediate future. We'll see Berry in the winner's bracket tomorrow against CNU. But Eastern Connecticut State could be if Salisbury can win this game and Eastern Connecticut State wins tonight, or if conversely both of them come up short here today. Anna Pepin, head coach of those Warriors of Eastern Connecticut State, has been watching this game from the stands. As a head coach in the postseason, you've got to both pay attention to your upcoming game as well as what could potentially be your next game. Always scouting. Scott the run on first with 2 outs now. And this is DuPlessis at the plate for the first time. A big cut from Sydney DuPlessis, who's been splitting time at catcher this year for the Seagulls. And Scott the pinch runner after Carly Galbraith had the 1-out single. And Sargent could be 1 pitch away from getting out of this inning still with a 4-4 ball game. Each team has taken turns with a 2-run lead, only to see it evaporate.
Well, the leavening of the score, Lincoln, will give an interesting final 2 innings of this ball game. It's like we get to start from square one all over again with considerably less time.
Big pinch hit opportunity here for the pride of Millersville, Pennsylvania. I believe Millersville has hosted a recent NCAA championship for field hockey.
Seeing DuPlessis continue to get this inside pitch and continuing to foul it off, getting so inside that she's actually spinning off of it. Maybe an opportunity for her to get her foot down just slightly.
Foul territory, chance to get out of the inning, and it is caught by Davison. With 2 outs, you go all out. Davison able to track it down and keep the Seagulls off the scoreboard for the first time in the past couple of innings. We are still tied at 4. Treating it just like any other game that has worked so far this postseason for all these teams. Most of them have been able to stay loose. It doesn't mean they aren't treating it like a business trip. For Salisbury, a new look in the circle. That's Savannah Sheets, a 2-time all-conference pitcher. Saw her with a perfect game last year in the regional against Eastern Nazarene. This will be her 26th appearance this year. 94 innings, a 1.19 ERA, 16-2 on the year. I mentioned it seems like all these teams are loaded in the circle.
Absolutely, and Coach Lord noted that Sheets often gets overlooked. Lindsey might get the recognition and the attention due to her speed and power and the fact that she's in the lineup as a hitter, but Savannah Sheets is known to be crafty. She's a competitor in the circle, she's a fighter, she's a very good counterpart.
She's been a big part of their success. At times, Salisbury has struggled offensively, and their pitching and defense has really carried them. Today they've had just enough offense, including a couple of solo shots, convincing home runs. Not that you get more for that. But here is Sheets now as both teams have gone to their, quote, bullpen. 1 away. Always feels good to get that first out of the way.
Shortstop, number 11.
And of course, Sheets can trust her center fielder and Abby Mace, who's made some key plays today.
So Gretchen Gold retired. Here's Lex Tennyson out of the 8th spot. Sack bunt and was robbed. A line drive to the third baseman back in the 4th, and she'll go right back over to Leadenham. Did not learn her lesson. That time a throw was required. 2 away.
Sheets making quick work of the big blue.
Is that 2 pitches?
Second base.
That's 2 pitches, yes. 3 pitches.
Room for improvement. That'll bring up the 9 spot. Riley Blake today, a sac bunt. 0 for 1 officially. Mentioned the sophomore from Iowa has been just about an everyday starter for this incredible year for the Big Blue. 37 wins, just 7 losses.
Blake has been a mainstay in this lineup for the Big Blue. Has not necessarily been the offensive powerhouse that some of her teammates are, but holds her own nicely at second base. Had about 13 hits coming into today's game, but has been one of the 6 or 7 players that has played in every single game thus far this year. So big contributor defensively for Millikin.
I just don't think there's anything resembling stress anymore for these players.
Nope. Look like they're out there having fun.
They all feel like they belong here. Neither of these teams have been here the past few years. Of course, Millikin's making its first ever trek to this final week. Salisbury, their 10th all time, but for this group of players and for this head coach, they're first. Under the current dynamic in the post-Coach Knight era. The 2-2 from Sheets, and that one will drop down in shallow right. So a 2-out base hit from your 9-hitter, Riley Blake, to keep this going for the top of your order.
And you love to see a player that is constantly contributing on one side of the ball get an opportunity to showcase their talent on the opposite side. And seeing that from Blake, especially on a stage like this, really good to see the sophomore produce in that way.
So your next batter, KJ Davison, has scored half of your runs today for Millikin. See if she can bring home a teammate with her first RBI. Last time she was up, she hit that liner right off the opposing pitcher, Windsor. Now she faces Sheets for the first time. Again, one more game on the schedule for today after this one. Trine and Eastern Connecticut State are both back after a one-year hiatus from the championship. And that would have been a tall task to get Blake out at second after her quick jump and the delayed throw.
Blake adding a 23rd stolen base on a 27 attempts now.
Salisbury can still just focus on the batter with 2 outs here.
I think that throw could have been perfectly executed and Blake would have been safe.
Yeah. She was down that line in a hurry. Mentioned Davison, 2 singles today, has scored twice. And they thought maybe they may have been out of the inning right there.
A little bit too close to take, in my personal opinion. And
luckily, you're not umpiring the game.
you know what? You're absolutely right. But I am up here in the booth with you.
Condolences. The 1-2.
Good discipline there.
We get to see somewhere between 14 and 17 games this week, depending on how things all play out. Right now, for these players, they're just focused on this one. It's the first game of their journey this week, 3rd game overall today. Top of the order, KJ Davison. Slapped down the first base line, knocked down by Meyers. And that'll strand Blake on the base paths. So we are still tied at 4. The Big Blue unable to surge back ahead. Seagulls will have the next chance to answer in the 6th.
No errors committed. 1 runner left. Leading off the 6th inning,
Salisbury fans hoping that the next time they see their Seagulls, it'll be tomorrow night as opposed to tomorrow afternoon. And tomorrow we have 2 elimination games, that one of which will feature one of these 2 teams by design. We'll also have 2 winners bracket games. And understandably, over the years, it has proven very difficult to ultimately claim a national championship if you're battling early through that elimination bracket, as it's really a test of how much pitching you have, but I do think we have several teams this year that might be built for it.
Well, there's quite a few teams here that are used to winning, right? So multiple teams with 40 wins on the season. I'm thinking of CNU that really hasn't had very many losses. 1 coming into today's tournament.
Last time CNU had a losing skid, it was last year's conference tournament against this Salisbury team. They have returned the favor by going 4-0 against these Seagulls, who wouldn't mind colliding with the captains later this week. It would probably mean that there was something pretty big on the line.
Well, and even both of these teams coming into today's game, Salisbury only having dropped 6 contests, Millikin having only dropped 7. So really seeing a good matchup here in terms of wins and losses. It's really going to be about the team that plays the best and ultimately can execute.
1-2 offering to someone who's already shown off some home run power today. Abby Mace homered in the 3rd. First of 2 home runs today for Salisbury. More recently walked and scored in the 4th inning.
If I'm Salisbury, I'm really excited about Abby Mace not only having herself an absolute monster of a junior season, but getting to have that leader come back for another year, hopefully for her senior season next year. It's exciting stuff.
Everybody in the dugout on the edge of their seats. Trying to time it right, but still punches it foul. And Abby Mace, first team All-American, player of the year in her conference, on her 17th home run of the season back in the 3rd inning. That was against Allie Armstrong. Addie Sargent has since come on in relief. And caught looking, strike 3 for out number 1.
We have seen, to me, a shocking amount of
Number 10, Lindsey Windsor.
Let me try that again. We've seen a shocking amount of strikeouts where batters have been caught looking. And again, that's going to be one of those controllables. Going to want to get up there, take your hacks as much as possible.
Lindsey Windsor, your starting pitcher, still stays in swinging a bat, but first pitch she sees will fly out to left, 2-1. By the way, we mentioned that both of these Millikin co-head coaches played at Central College. Played over there for Coach Wares, who's been tweeting a little bit today. So hello to Coach. I'm sure he is proud of what co-head coaches Whitney Sowers and Katie Tenbor have been able to do with this program that last year ended a lengthy drought in terms of NCAA postseason, first time back since 1994. And have some pretty good building blocks in place. As Natalie Paoli comes up with 2 outs, nobody on. And this is a moonshot back to the wall, and it will finally die down somehow. And that means we are still tied at 4. Natalie Paoli put a charge in that one. but Chismark was able to settle down in front of the fence, squeeze it in, and as a result, we are still
Leading off the top of the 7th inning for Millikin, center fielder, number 12, Leah Chismark.
game of inches, maybe a foot. As Salisbury so close to having a go-ahead home run, would have been their third solo shot of the day, but instead, no lead for Savannah Sheets to work with. That means no margin for error here. Salisbury does have the benefit of being the designated home team, so that puts Millikin in a tough spot here. They hope to score as many runs as possible to deny Salisbury to walk it off in the home half.
When both teams relying on, I guess, the other half of their ace, and both teams having multiple aces. And the leavening of the score has created a new ball game for these programs. Again, we only got 6 outs to work with. Unless, of course, we're sent into extras.
It's been done before.
Now's as good a time as any for these teams to compete.
So again, it was Chismark who made that catch in front of the wall. She'll send a bloop up the middle. This will be a tough turn and fire. A nice effort from Paoli, but it's an infield base hit for Lainey Chismark. So she's on with nobody out. Represents a go-ahead run, possibly a winning run for Millikin.
Seconding that great play from Paoli.
Catcher,
Not necessarily a close play, but
Leah Foreman.
good to finish that play. Sets your feet.
See if Leah Foreman can come through. Foreman officially 0 for 1 today. Puts down a bunt, trying to move that go-ahead runner into scoring position. Mission accomplished. 1 away.
Millikin has done a great job playing small ball all day today, executing the minor details that ultimately add up to wins, especially if their counterparts in this game aren't able to match that effort. Salisbury's done a much better job, though, after that second inning, really struggling with executing some of that small ball.
So 1 out, but the potential go-ahead run in scoring position as Chismark dashes in front of your screen. Grace Biondo. You would assume, a great name like Biondo, she'd have a home run this year, but none so far. She does have a couple of runs batted in, however. She had an RBI single in the first, RBI ground out in the 5th. See if she can continue to move around Lainey Chismark. Right now with 1 out, facing Savannah Sheets. And punched over to the second baseman, looking for the double play, not in time. But now 2 outs, and Chismark still stuck at second. Galbraith able to squeeze it in for the out.
Third base, number 17, Cameron Skunberg.
And just not able to stay in her legs. Doesn't quite have her timing down, but Biondo not able to produce for her team in that moment, and could have been a double play. And then brings Skunberg. Trying to do something with 2 outs on the board and a runner in scoring position. And what we've seen so far today, Lincoln, is Millikin has done a great job of being able to produce in this moment. 2 outs, runners in scoring position. Will be important to see if they can make it happen this late in the game.
And Skunberg, your 5-hitter. Today, 2 for 3 with an RBI.
And this is who you want up in this situation, right? Skunberg, one of 2 players on the Millikin squad, well above that 400 mark. 4 home runs on the season.
And Sheets in the circle in relief of your starter, Lindsey Windsor, today. The 2-0. And not tempting 3-0. Chismark led off this inning with a single. A sac bunt moved her to second, but a pop out in the infield. Unable to move to third. Still hoping to come home before the end of this inning. Otherwise, Salisbury would be one swing of the bat away from possibly walking off into tomorrow's winner's bracket. The 3-0 from Sheets. And a 4-pitch walk has 2 runners for the Big Blue on. And let's see if a pinch hitter comes on in this big roll.
Maybe a bit of an unintentional, intentional walk for Skundberg.
So it's going to be Anna Enlow, a freshman, hitting 167 on the year. And coach thinks that this is the opportunity for her to come up with 2 outs. Chismark, the runner, on second. Skundberg on first. Enlow with 1 RBI this year. Let's see what they have in mind.
This is as good a time as any to get some of your younger players, freshmen in, to have some of this national championship experience. I actually love the opportunity that Enlow's getting right now.
She's batting for the DP, Cassie Reed, who is 0 for 3 today.
I think you probably could have gone either way. Cassie Reed is a .325 hitter coming into today's ball game, so she was due probably her last at bat. Probably could have had a great at bat here. Maybe a matchup thing. Either way, Enlow getting a great opportunity.
Runner on second, Chismark. Runner on first, Skundberg. Both teams have had 2-run leads. Both teams have surrendered those leads.
Now, the mark of a great pinch hitter is going to fail 85% of the time. So if you can get above that 150 mark, doing a good job.
Sheets able to get Salisbury out of the inning. We move to the bottom of the 7th as the Seagulls will have a chance to strike one final time and punch their ticket to the winner's bracket. Thing is on the line. The Seagulls have some rally visors going. Staying loose in the dugout. They've got the middle third of their lineup coming up against your CCIW pitcher of the year in Addie Sargent. Sargent with her defense set behind her, as they're going to do everything they can to keep the Seagulls from scoring a lone run. That would be the difference in being in the winner's bracket or facing elimination tomorrow in Game 2. So Megan Reed, your DP. 1 for 2 today with an RBI. Salisbury with all of its scoring in the 3rd and 4th innings. Millikin has spread it out, had a 2-0 lead, then trailed 4-2, then answered with 2 in the top of the 5th to tie things, and that's where we've been ever since. Salisbury was maybe a couple feet away from a 5-4 lead, and a home run would wind up simply being a fly out. 2-0 left side, and Tennyson has Millikin 1 out closer to getting their bats once again in extra innings.
And all things considered, Lincoln, a very evenly matched game we've had so far. Probably the most evenly matched. Haven't had a big inning yet from either team. 4-4 currently for the score. Millikin with 7 hits, Salisbury with 8. Both teams have made an error. Both teams have used 2 pitchers, 2 of their aces today. First
pitch to Meyers. Out towards left, a little scary moment, but Biondo comes in to make the catch. It's probably one that she should have caught, but it started to maybe perhaps throw some doubt in your mind. But she got fired up at the end with the punctuation.
You know, it looked like Biondo probably was calling that ball the moment it was hit. Didn't realize actually how far she had to run, but she had called off her shortstop. Shortstop did a great job of listening to her outfielder. It's actually an easier ball for Biondo to get most of the time running in.
Was this a 4-pitch inning? And Millikin able to step up to the plate, figuratively. Now they're going to be able to step up to the plate in extra innings. Top of the 8th coming your way here on NCAA.com. For the first time today, extra innings as the 2-seed Seagulls went quickly in order to the bottom half of the 7th. Big sigh of relief for Millikin. The thing is, though, it's going to keep happening now here in extra innings.
Well, like I was sharing last inning, this game has been so evenly matched, so it's really going to come down to the details and or the big hit. Just going to have to see which way the cookie crumbles for either of these teams. And great softball played by both of these teams today, executing fundamentals, taking advantage of the free pass when it has come to them. And neither of these teams has made very many mistakes either. So
here's Gretchen Gold. It's the bottom third of the big blue lineup for Millikin. Mentioned on this date, back in 2014, an incredible extra inning game that the Seagulls were in the midst of the championship series in Tyler, Texas. Again, that one was scoreless through the first 13 innings against Tufts. Back when Allison Fournier and Joe Clare were doing their things for the eventual 3-time champs for the Jumbos. And while Salisbury trying to return the favor with a quick defensive inning of their own, Gold retired, out number 1.
Millikin really bears the burden here, right? As the visitors, they're getting the opportunity to put runs on the board, and ultimately Salisbury has to defend. But Salisbury is going to have the final say. So Millikin really is the team with the pressure, at least from where I sit.
That was a Salisbury team in 2014 led by the likes of Paige Nussman along with Kim Dorsey and Rachel Johnson. Count 1-1. Lincoln Rose, Sydney Gearbracht with you. Third game of 4 on the schedule today. First 2 days always have quadruple headers, weather permitting. As tomorrow, 2 elimination games, 2 winners bracket contests. In theory, Saturday has 2 games, but sometimes schedule needs a little adjusting. What is nice here in Salem is the adjacent fields we have, so that if for any reason this schedule were to look like it was going to fall behind a bit, you could have multiple games going on at the same time, as was the case last year. Just think how much softball we've seen today, and for 2 teams, they're going to enthusiastically take the diamond for the first time. The Warriors of Eastern Connecticut State, as well as the Thunder of Trine. I know nobody wants to talk about Thunder right about now. A 2-2 count. It's not just Coach Wares. Apparently it's every former player for Central ever who's tuned in, cheering on that coaching duo in the dugout for the Big Blue, hoping that they can reclaim a lead here in the top half of the 8th inning. Off the handle, straight back to the backstop for Lex Tennyson.
Well, Millikin has made some good adjustments so far off of sheets. So again, it's going to come down to, hopefully it doesn't come down to the big hit with how well both of these teams have played, but it's come down to the ability to adhere to the details. Millikin there gets a break with a
3-2 pitch inside for a walk. Tennyson on the bases. Millikin has a potential go-ahead runner, though at the moment 180 feet away. Brings up your 9-hitter Riley Blake. She singled her last time up back in the 6th inning. 1 for 2 today, as well as a sacrifice bunt. Millikin 4 runs on 7 hits. Salisbury 4 runs on 8 hits. You mentioned the parity up there on the scoreboard. These two teams, again, the committee has to reseed. You have to choose a 1, you have to choose an 8, but in reality, after today, seeding no longer a factor. It determines home team on the first day. Your own performance will determine your schedule the rest of the week. And very little is separating the 2 and 7 seed here. Would we all like to learn more about that sleeve? Yes. That'll have to wait. Perhaps she is a fast machine. As Riley Blake lays off that one.
And Riley Blake already has a hit under her belt today. She's already hit well against Sheets. I think got a single in her last at bat. She's able to just pop it over into right field.
And she's had a nice day, hitting under 200 though on the season. Stepping up when it matters here.
Talk about a kid who wants to perform.
Millikin tied it up in the top of the 5th with a couple of runs. We have been tied at 4 ever since. With 1 out, they have a runner on first. Trying to advance that runner into scoring position, and a nice job with the sacrifice bunt by Riley Blake, but now 2 outs, and that potential go-ahead runner is still 120 feet away, but the thought is a base hit should be able to score her.
And again, this is a scenario, runners in scoring position, 2 outs on the board, where Millikin has been successful multiple times already this game. Going to be a matter of whether they can execute in these final moments.
So back to KJ Davison, 2 for 3 today. And they are going to run for that critical runner, as Katie Dedamore, freshman from the Golden State, will come on for Tennyson.
Now, while both of these teams have performed pretty consistently, having gone head-to-head today, what's been really cool to learn about this Millikin program is that playing without fear and wanting to execute for the person next to you is what these coaches, these Millikin coaches, have dubbed to be the separator for this team, making sure they're constantly reminding them that the talent alone that this Millikin team has is not going to nearly go as far as their desire to pour into the people around them, and seeing them believe in one another and how that collaborative effort can create some magic here on the field, and we're seeing that magic play out in front of our eyes.
You often get a glimpse of that chemistry just on what we've seen in the dugouts alone, even though it doesn't show up in the box score. Davison has scored twice today. Trying to come through here with 2 outs. Go ahead run in scoring position. Facing Savannah Sheets.
You know, we talked earlier in one of the previous broadcasts, Lincoln, about some of the purple ribbons we've seen players wear as a nod to the importance of mental health. And that's also one of the things I love about this Millikin program, knowing that they can make a difference in each other's lives, continuously showing up for each other, and how important that community is as a college athlete in terms of the support that you receive and the family that you end up having even after you're done playing.
Well, we're seeing that again as some former teammates of these coaches are still very much invested in them on social media.
A shout out to some of those former Millikin players who are tweeting Lincoln up a storm.
Yes, and some of the central teammates for the coaches as well. 3-0 the count with 2 outs, and as a 4-pitch walk to Davison. So now you've got to force anywhere on the bases, third, second, or first. And the bat of Chismark, who singled her last time up just last inning.
And I shared earlier in the broadcast that you really don't know what it's going to be that's going to win or lose a ball game. But this is an exciting place to be. Top of the 8th, 2 outs on the board. I don't know who I'd rather be. I don't know if I'd rather be Sheets with 2 outs on the board and playing some of my best ball right now, or if I'd rather be Millikin, where they have some runners in scoring position in a scenario where they've been able to perform all season long.
In Millikin, ball game's not over just if they score Dedamore, which is why they would like to do everything they could, not just to find 1 run, but some insurance as well. As Salisbury will continue to get the last chance to respond. I think the average person wants to be the team with the bat in their hand who happens to have 2 base runners on, even if it is with 2 outs. If you're Salisbury, though, you're thrilled with who you have in the circle. The 0-1. Both runners will advance, and now you have that go-ahead run 60 feet away. 1 wild pitch, 1 pass ball. Could be the difference. And for Salisbury, you no longer have that easy force at any bag to get out of the inning. The 1-1 to Chismark. Slaps it back up the middle. A play to be had at first. Got her. Seagulls survive the top of the 8th as this extra inning battle continues to the home half with a chance to walk it off once again.
No runs on no hits, no errors committed, 2 runners.
Bottom half of the 8th inning. As Salisbury again able to survive the top half of the 8th, keep it a 4-4 ball game, and again a chance to laugh last. As Carly Galbraith leads things off. Galbraith today 1 for 2. Batting out of that 7th spot, also has a sacrifice bunt executed earlier in this ball game.
And a good choice there from Galbraith. Right on Sargent, pulling that straight back. Needs to be ready for a inside, low inside, and or something off speed on the outside corner.
So for Salisbury, it's the bottom third of their order due up here, trying to come through. We've had a couple of solo shots over the outfield wall. They were darn close to having a third, which would have denied us this extra inning drama.
We love the drama this early. This is what we live for.
The main drama for us when games go to extra innings is whether there's any cookies left from the rest of the crew who aren't tied to their headsets the whole time.
Great spot there from Sargent. Really, I've seen Sargent be efficient with her pitches. Not very many pitches going to waste. Everything's setting up her strikes, her swings and misses nicely.
2-2. This will get down for a base hit. Galbraith leads off the 8th inning by giving the Seagulls some hope that this could do it.
I mean, important that Salisbury doesn't look to overswing here, right? We don't necessarily need a home run in order to end the game, though there could definitely be that big hit.
Emily Stockman already has one of them today. A solo shot to lead off the 4th inning. It was the first of 3 runs for Salisbury that inning. And moments ago, Galbraith able to drop one down in shallow left and put the pressure on Sargent and Millikin. She has a home run today, so of course you ask her to square around to bunt. Almost beats it out for a hit, but well done, giving herself up to move Galbraith into scoring position.
I was going to say, that might be a play that I see if I can argue, because that was a little too close.
They have challenged it. It, we presume, will be upheld, but we're going to have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, from that angle, it looks a bit more clear.
This is under review. That's why Stockman's standing on first. We anticipate she will be told to head back to the dugout in a moment and the call will be confirmed. We could be surprised, but at the moment it's a successful sacrifice bunt. They're hoping that they'll have 2 on and nobody out if somehow this gets overturned. That first angle was the one that likely the centralized crew up in Pittsburgh will rely upon. Again, even though our umpires go to a headset, they don't look at a monitor. They will be relayed what the decision is from the same office that works the Division I and the Division II NCAA tournaments. This is the first year that review is available. And since it is after the 6th inning, umpires can initiate the challenge.
And exciting that teams are getting this opportunity to use this technology. Really grateful for the team out in Pittsburgh. And each team only has 2 per game. He has to use it wisely. It does not roll over.
We haven't seen anything that would overturn the ruling of out. It's not yet secured.
Slow down like that. It's a good call.
Yeah, what you don't see is anything that would overturn it.
Sure.
And that's the most important thing. Whatever was going to be called live probably was going to be upheld. We'll get the official ruling here in a moment from our officials who have heard the ruling now from the folks in Pennsylvania, and they have upheld the call of out. No surprise. But again, that was a productive plate appearance, the sack bunt from the freshman. So Galbraith in scoring position. Salisbury was just hoping to have 1 more out to work with, and perhaps an extra base runner.
And we noted at the beginning of the game how Salisbury was a bit concerned coming in, knowing that they had been producing in the circle and defensively, but had struggled to find their footing offensively in the postseason, and knowing coming in with the competition this weekend that they were going to have to figure out a way to produce. They've done a great job producing so far this game, first game in this national championship, and they're going to need to continue to execute both in terms of details and then putting the bat on the ball. Great opportunity here for them.
Whitney Sowers, one of your co-head coaches, makes her way out to the circle. She's chatted with her team. Most of our cutaways tonight have been over at the first base coach, your co-head coach, and Katie Tinbar. So Seagulls now have the base runner in scoring position with 2 outs to work with here in the 8th inning. Galbraith, your runner on second. They have not going to run for her. And Katita now here in the 9th spot with a chance to be a hero. Puts down the bunt, looking for a base hit. Well executed by Millikin. And the Seagulls are down to their final out. But again, just because you bunt doesn't mean you're giving yourself up for a cheap out. Along the way, the sack bunt has moved Galbraith 60 feet away from winning it.
Yeah, beautiful bunt there by Katita. There's some speed there for both Stockman and Katita back to back. Could have beaten those out.
All right, so runner on third, and this shifts the spotlight in part on Millikin's catcher Foreman. If your pitcher decides to experiment with a breaking ball for the first time all season, you've got to make sure that ball stays in front of you. Winning run 60 feet away. After Galbraith led off this inning with a single, back-to-back sacrifice bunts from the 8 and 9 hitters in the lineup, gets us back to the top of the order where Gabby Mace today has already conquered the outfield wall. She is 1 for 3 with a walk and a home run, a couple runs scored. She's looking for her 2nd RBI.
Well, this is who you want up in this situation, right? Abby Mace hitting well over 400 on the season.
And Mace towards the gap. It'll be squeezed in by Biondo, and we continue to play softball in this one. Millikin able to deny Salisbury a walk-off win in the 8th. Big Blue will have their chance to capture lead here in extra innings. 9th inning up next. Seagulls thought maybe they might have a game-winning hit drop into the gap in left center. That gap was quickly closed as Salisbury unable to find that winning run. And it's Sheets back in the circle for inning number 9. Thinking Rose, Sydney Gearbrack. Well, the Seagulls are used to watching 9-inning affairs this time of year, but that's from their championship baseball team. There'll be an infield base hit from Leah Foreman after Lebanon at least keeps it in the infield.
Number 15, Grace Biondo.
That is a hard hit ball.
Those that she can to knock it down. Good play there by Lebanon. Just not able to keep a glove on it.
All right, your cleanup hitter, Grace Biondo. RBI single back in the first, has walked, had an RBI ground out and popped out since then. Officially 1 for 3 with 2 RBI. No home runs this year. 28 RBI coming into today, now sitting on 30. As Coach Tinbor, I assume that's not an Uber's Eat checklist.
And a great opportunity for Biondo, who, like you shared, isn't going to have any home runs on the season, but is definitely something or someone that Millikin can rely on for RBIs to produce here.
Emma Lewandowski, the sophomore, is your pinch runner, a recurring role she's had this year, as that is a critical run, of course. Here in the 9th inning, she'll run for the catcher, Foreman. So Savannah Sheets, 3 innings of work already in relief, and a nice diving effort from your catcher, but ultimately unable to secure that one. Again, that is Stockman, the freshman, who's caught all 9 of these innings now. Has a home run of her own today.
And a nod to Stockman, diving in all of that gear.
I mean, if she needed an inning off, she could just switch shirts with her twin sister, who's also a catcher. I don't think that follows the sportsmanship policy of the NCAA, but might make for a good Disney Plus adaptation. Lewandowski, the runner on first. Last thing she wants to do as a pinch runner is be caught off the base path.
I appreciate the aggressive lead. And with a hitter like Biondo up with no outs on the board, don't want to waste the out there.
Nobody wants to leave an extra inning game with a clean uniform anyways. 1 ball, 1 strike. And Sheets faces Biondo. Again shows bunt in on the handle. It's a foul ball. And that likely removes that as an option. Now with 2 strikes.
Seems that the roles have switched a little bit. Salisbury not able to execute small ball earlier in this game, but doing a much better job here in these big moments.
This one poke foul. Millikin has not gone down in order since back in the 4th inning, as they have constantly kept Salisbury on their heels. It was Salisbury last half inning who almost managed to produce a difference maker. And Lewandowski, the pinch runner on first. Biondo at the plate. The 2-2 offering is tight. 3-2. Now Biondo has to protect the plate, but a free pass here obviously pushes Lewandowski into scoring position still with nobody out. And this is exactly what the Seagulls want. 1 away, runner can't go anywhere.
And you have to tip your hat to Savannah Sheets, right? Coming into this game, about halfway through what would have been our regular innings, but fourth inning, now has pitched more innings than her counterpart, Lindsey Windsor, and for the most part has kept Salisbury off balance. Or, excuse me, has kept Millikin off balance.
This will be her 59th pitch in relief. Skunberg. And she'll step out. Skunberg today, 2 for 3 with an RBI. Number 5 hitter in this lineup for the Big Blue. We've been tied 4 apiece ever since the top of the 5th when Millikin played it a pair after being down by 2.
Millikin had some really aggressive at-bats in the first couple innings here. Seeing them take the first pitch strike for the past couple innings.
Again, at the plate, your 5 hitter who led the conference in hitting with that .448 batting average. Today, that average has gone up. You don't have to be a math major like Skunberg to know 2 for 3. Getting a little better than 66% today. With 1 out, run on first, the pinch runner Lewandowski for Foreman. Left side. They'll get at least 1. As Paoli to Meyers in plenty of time, 2 away. And the pinch runner Lewandowski finally moves into scoring position.
And again, probably the most even matchup that we've seen thus far today. TLU, very, I would say, stunned TLU with their energy and how aggressive they were offensively in the first couple innings, to where TLU really couldn't make a comeback with Ouellette. And we saw a very high-scoring game, 8-6 in our first game of today's tournament. So some different competition we've seen. Every single game has had its own mark, its own flavor.
Cassie Reed looking for her first hit of the day. It would be a big one. 0 for 3 so far against the 2 pitchers from Salisbury.
And Cassie Reed did not get her 4th at bat originally. There was a pinch hitter that came in. Like I was sharing, pinch hitters, a good pinch hitter fails 85% of the time, so anything above that 150 mark is going to be a really good pinch hitter. Cassie Reed getting a chance to redeem herself over the 0 for 3 day she's had so far.
The engineers of WPI didn't know there was a plural form of pinch hitter. 13 healthy players on that team that made it to the championship week. The 1-1. And yet they still almost knocked off CNU today. But instead we'll be facing last year's runner-up, an angry group of Bulldogs from TLU in the elimination game that gets things started tomorrow. 4th batter this inning, Cassie Reed with 1 on and 2 out. A shot towards left. Katita to the wall, cannot make the catch. And the Big Blue back on the board. They have the lead here in the 9th inning.
And that's huge for Cassie Reed, right? So we talked about how she is the energy and the connector on this Millikin squad. So her getting a hit, her teammates seeing her successful. It's a line shot off of the wall.
Yeah, hit maybe a foot below that yellow on top of the wall. Cannot contain it, should not contain it. And now for Millikin, you want more.
Maybe 2 or 3 feet short of being out and being a 2-run ball game instead of a 1-run ball game, and a great 4th at bat for Cassie Reed.
And Millikin, 7 seed, looking to have an upset here on the first day against the 2 seed. Cassie Reed with the RBI single Here's Gold, who's 0 for 4. As Mace in center, and there's your elusive third out. So Millikin has scored and taken a lead in the 9th inning, but Salisbury can tie it with 1 and walk it off with a pair. Home half for the 9th coming your way from Salem, Virginia. A 2-out RBI hit from Cassie Reed, scoring the pinch runner Lewandowski after the inning began with Leah Foreman's single. And it all up. Millikin finds that elusive 5th run in the top of the 9th, but Salisbury, the home team, has a chance to answer.
Number 10, Lindsey Windsor.
And here was your starting pitcher today, Lindsey Windsor. 2 for 4 with her bat, as the All-American takes a big cut. So Mace was the final out of the 8th inning. Windsor, 2, 3, and 4 hitters due up here for Salisbury. They need at least 1 run. But all of a sudden, if they find more than that, you're not heading to the 10th inning. Ball game's over.
And you were just talking about how much you enjoy softball for not being 9 innings.
It does have its advantages over baseball. I've enjoyed this 9 innings of softball probably than a lot of 9-inning baseball games. Left side, Tennyson. And the Big Blue need just 2 outs.
Shortstop, number 5,
Windsor just a little bit ahead for timing, a little bit too eager. Also probably could have let that ball go.
You saw some thunder there in the distance, but that's because they're in our next game. As Trine will take on Eastern Connecticut State. Not sure why anybody thinks they can see thunder otherwise.
We'll be here all day, folks.
We have
Or
been
Lincoln
here all
will
day.
be, at least.
And again, what's so fun is after this game, there's 2 teams. It's a brand new experience for them.
Yep, haven't played yet.
They've been having to wait all day. Now, at least they haven't been at the hotel all day. Several of them have been here watching this game unfold. Those of you watching the archive of this game, don't spoil it for us. And it's count 2-1. Addie Sargent. Millikin, they're ace in the hole. Both these teams with a great second pitcher to go to today. With 1 out, Paoli at the plate. 0 for 3.
Sheets has really done a great job, Sargent has really done a great job keeping Salisbury off balance since she's come in the 5th inning.
5 innings of work from her has allowed just 1 earned run. Struck out 3, walked 1.
Yep.
Just needs 2 more outs before a run scores. But is facing the meat of this lineup. And a big hack, strike 3. Sargent and the Big Blue just need 1 more out to move on to the winner's bracket tomorrow night.
number 4, Millikin Reed.
Looks like a bit of a delayed decision to swing at that pitch. Tough break there for Natalie Paoli. Hasn't really gotten fooled and or taken any erroneous swings throughout her at-bats thus far.
It's just a big moment there. Couldn't lay off of it. Here's Megan Reed. 1 for 3 today with an RBI.
I'll tell you, sometimes you see that ball, it's real close to your eyes, nice and up in the zone, you think you're going to send it.
Yeah.
Doesn't always happen that way.
Oh, she's not the first person in the history of the sport to think that was her pitch.
I've seen a lot of pitchers today have success with that that pitch up by the letters, working that.
Megan Reed and the
ladder.
Seagulls might be down to their final out. Trailing 5-4 after Millikin finally plated one in the top half of this inning. Again, Millikin, debutantes here in the championship. They have never made it this far before the dynamic duo, their head coaches, Whitney Sowers and Katie Tinbor, are in their 8th year together. Bring them to Salem. They'll appeal the swing, did not go. 1-2. Well, we saw Barry earlier today win in their debut. Of course, that's a program that didn't exist before 2010. Millikins at least had some history. Sargent in the circle with a 1-run lead and 2 outs. And just got a piece of it. If Megan can keep this inning going, Lauren Meyers on deck.
So the decision here that I might make as a batter is, do I elect to stay where I am in the box, or do I choose to move up slightly, knowing that I may get one of 3 things, something up in the zone.
Shot up the middle, and the tying run is on for the Seagulls.
Something up in the zone.
Megan Reed has done her job. Will she get to stomp on home plate before this inning's over? They will need her to do so to avoid the elimination bracket tomorrow. 10th appearance in the national championship week for Salisbury, first since 2015, a 3-time national runner-up, and they will run for her in this critical situation. It's going to be, I believe, Maddie Lemon, who's been the flex today.
And I love that at bat from Megan Reed. Not trying to do too much, has to come back from a 1-2 situation, able to put the ball in play.
Presumably Addie Sargent is not giving Lemon a single thought. There's still 2 outs. And now Lauren Meyers due up for Salisbury. Meyers today 0 for 3 so far. Some folks would say that just means you're due. But again, great pitching on display for both teams.
I would say that. I am, folks. She's due.
With 2 outs, runner on first. Mind you, she comes up to the plate as a potential winning run. I mean, if she decides to hit her 6th home run of the year, that's the ball game for the Seagulls.
Well, Meyers has over 30 RBIs, I think 34 RBIs on the season so far. Again, one of those mainstays for the Salisbury lineup.
Yeah, picked up her 35th in this ball game.
Again, that junior class that Margie Wright brought into this Salisbury program.
And Coach Knight, the Hall of Famer, coached Lacey Lister, who, of course, now Lacey Lord, following in her footsteps, has gotten Salisbury back to this final week. Did we just witness the Big Blue? All right, maybe not all smiles right now. There's a little bit something on the line here. A big difference between a win and a loss on day one. Moments ago, Megan Reed kept this ball game going. They are running for her right now with Lemon. Her teammate Meyers at the plate. Two and one. '77th pitch in relief from Sargent. Millikin plated a run, and this the top of the 9th inning, now here in the home half. Salisbury called to answer. First 2 batters were retired in order before the 2-out hit from Reed. But again, once you get to extra innings, how quickly things can change with a single swing of the bat. As the case here for Meyers. That'll get down and left. Cannot knock it down. Tying run may be sent home. Scoring from first to home is the pinch runner Lemon, as Biondo can't track down that ball in time. And on top of that, Lauren Meyers, in line to be a hero, is in scoring position.
Well, and this is really what we call veteran leadership, right? Lincoln settling nicely into her at bat, waits for her pitch, hits that ball well. That is a pretty egregious error out by the Millikin outfield. Not keeping that ball in front. Might have been able to keep a runner at third base versus allowing.
Yeah, it is a single and an error, and obviously an error that has, at the moment, cost you a run.
Yep.
As your winning run in scoring position, so Emily Challender will come on, a freshman out of Lumberton, New Jersey, her 20th game of the year.
Your attention, please. Pinch runner at second for Salisbury.
After a pinch runner has already scored this inning.
Challenging. Now pinch running for the Seagulls.
And my, how the tables have turned. Salisbury again with this runner on base, maybe not in scoring position, but with 2 outs, able to execute here when it matters. Game on the line.
Madison Lednam today, 2 for 4. Lauren Meyers ended her 0-for with a big hit a moment ago. Now Challender running for her. First 2 batters were retired in order. Back-to-back base hits for the Seagulls. And this'll do it. Lednam shoots one to the gap. Seagulls walk it off in extra innings. Challender comes home from second. And that's the benefit to being the home team on the big stage, as Millikin will not have a chance to answer. Big Blues score 1 in the 9th, and down to their final out, Seagulls strike twice.
And what I love about Salisbury is that they do not give up the fight, and they figure out how to execute in the moments when it matters most. Beautiful hit there. Again, not trying to do too much, just trying to score your runner, and does just enough to have another Seagull cross the plate.
So Savannah Sheets, for her effort in relief, will pick up the win. The Seagulls collectively pick up the dub here on this opening day, now 42-6 on the year. Millikin will face elimination tomorrow in our second game of the day. They don't yet know their opponent. That will be the team that comes up short in our nightcap in a moment between Eastern Connecticut State and Trine. As for Salisbury, they sit back and they will scout this next game. They will play the winner in our nightcap tomorrow night, as we have another 4 games coming your way on day 2. But we still have our 4th game coming up next year on NCAA.com. Seagulls move on in the winner's bracket. For Sydney Gearbrack, I'm Lincoln Rose. An extra inning walk-off affair. A big memory for Salisbury as they